Sup Adelaide, how we doing? Andrew Stacey here from the City of Adelaide Lions Club. It is Sunday morning, we're off on our Get Active walk. And this morning we've got a fair crew with us, which is great. We've got 3 kids with us, but more importantly, we've got the lovely Kimberley Zirk here. And
hello.
She's from Diabetes SA. So as I've mentioned the last couple of weeks, that we were going to get a guest speaker or guest from Diabetes SA, and Kimberley has been kind enough to come along. So
my pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming along. If you've got any questions out there about diabetes, this is the lady to ask today. So feel free to write comments and I'll ask the questions on your behalf. But welcome to the Lions Get Active walk for this Sunday. It's a bit of a cool morning here in Adelaide. I welcome everyone who follows me regularly across Adelaide, across South Australia. There's a few people across Australia and even internationally. So good morning, good evening, wherever you're from. Say hello this morning, give us some likes. And if you've got a question for Kimberley about diabetes, please send it through. If you don't have any questions, I've got plenty of questions and we'll chat along as we go. We've got lots of people on the walk with me this morning. I'm going to just move the camera around. You can see 3 lovely ladies in front of us there. We've got Kathy, Marilyn and Kate. Kate's got her dog Oscar. We've got my girls here. And then a couple of people behind me you can see in the background. I've got a couple of mates from work. Morning Patria. And a friend there. One of the guys has brought his daughter, which is great. So we've got a little bit of a crew with us today, which is marvellous. So we're here at the Torrens Weir. We've just set off. And same as last week, we're making our way along the River Torrens. So we'll walk past Pinky Flat, we'll walk past Adelaide Oval, we'll head towards the Adelaide Uni Bridge and we'll turn around and come on back. So it's a little bit foggy here in Adelaide, a little bit cool, but hopefully the rain stays away. Some of us got rained on driving in, so fingers crossed it stays away. So thank you for joining us this morning. And like I said, morning Ian, how are you buddy? And so as we walk, we're going to talk to Kimberley. And if you've got any questions about diabetes, this is the young lady to ask and get some expert advice from. So thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's a great day to be out.
Absolutely.
Sunday morning, going for a nice early morning
nice casual stroll. There's heaps of people on bikes, there's heaps of people jogging, so we'll need to keep an eye out for those guys like I did last week. A couple of kids I've got here are scooting away as well. And but yeah, heaps of activity here on the Torrens River. Morning Val, oh sorry, good evening Val, up in Fleetwood there. How's Uncle Billy? Uncle Billy! Uncle Billy's probably watching, keep going. Anyway, so a few questions to start off with Kimberley, and we'll go from there. So we'll start simple and we'll get more complex, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
So Kimberley, what's your role within Diabetes SA?
So my role at Diabetes SA is a credentialed diabetes educator.
Yep.
So another word or acronym is CDE.
Yep.
Some people may have heard of that person in the community. So I'm a CDE or credentialed diabetes educator at Diabetes SA, and my role entails a lot around education and support for people living with diabetes.
Yep.
And running events, education sessions that we offer.
Okay. Yeah.
Working on our on the NGSS support line, which I can explain a bit later about.
Yep.
So more a community based organisation.
Yeah. And I was going to ask the same thing. What does morning Daniel? How are you, mate? Daniel's from work as well. What does Diabetes SA do, or as an organisation?
So Diabetes SA is a non-for-profit, member-based community organisation, and we're the state-based organisation for diabetes in SA.
Yep.
And we offer support, education for people living with diabetes, services. We have a range of different services we offer as well. So we're basically there for people in the community living with diabetes to help support their journey.
Is it like a reference point to sort of find out what to go and where to go and get advice from and everything else?
Exactly, we're the place to come. Whether you've, say, been newly diagnosed with diabetes or have some ongoing support needs or questions, or
Okay.
they require support from health professionals, we're there to do that.
Okay, cool. Sweet. And so let's start really simple, just for those laymen like me out there. What's the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes?
Yes, that's a very common question we get.
Yeah.
So, what's your understanding first of
As far as I know,
difference between?
as far as I know, type 1 is you're born with it. Whereas type 2 is one where you're going to more develop it because of your lifestyle.
Sort of.
Okay, that's fine. I'm happy to be corrected.
So, type 1 diabetes, people aren't necessarily born with it,
Okay.
but certainly it does tend to affect younger people, as in children
Okay.
and adolescents. That tends to be where this condition develops. However, that's not to say it can't develop in any age.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, right.
for example, I recently met a lady who came into diabetes SA who was 73 who had developed type 1 diabetes. So it can happen at any age. It's
Okay.
just it's often associated or presents itself in younger people. And what type 1 diabetes is, it's a condition where the pancreas is no longer able to make its own supply of insulin.
Yep.
And this is often caused by an autoimmune condition or something that has affected the autoimmune system, which has then, the autoimmune system has gone to the pancreas and destroyed those cells for whatever reason, those insulin producing cells.
Yeah.
And the person
Watch out for bikes behind us.
is unable to make their own supply of insulin.
Okay.
So it's an autoimmune condition which has resulted in the destruction of the beta cells in the pancreas.
Yep.
And the pancreas cannot make its own insulin
Okay.
to help support the blood glucose levels in the body, which insulin is required for.
Yeah.
And people living with type 1 diabetes need insulin somehow.
Yeah.
So how that's delivered is via either an insulin injection or nowadays the younger people are on insulin pumps, which consistently deliver insulin to them. And they basically need insulin from day one, from day dot.
Yeah.
Whereas
Cheeky cat. Oh, you weren't doing that on Friday night, though, were you?
Certainly wasn't doing it at 10 o'clock on Friday night. I was drinking. Had another birthday party, the last
Right.
one.
Sorry, Cass is a Port supporter, so.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, sorry. So
that's
type 2,
fine.
sorry.
I'll just finish on
Oh,
saying
sorry,
type 1
Yep.
affects around 9% of the Australian population.
Yeah, I
So
had read that.
just a small proportion,
Yeah.
but it's still, it requires daily management all the time. They never get a break from it. And in fact, one of the people joining us today is living with type 1 diabetes as well. So
Yeah.
you might want to speak to her.
I
a bit
certainly,
later
I
about
want
her
to.
aspect of-
Hopefully she wants to
if
be
she'd
on
like
camera.
to,
Yeah.
that
I've spoken to. I've known Jess for a while. 'Cause she used to work with my wife, and so she's really briefly explained, like, more so that mental side of dealing with it, more so than the physical side sort of affecting her. So it's always an interesting side that I would never have thought about until I spoke to her about it. So yeah.
So in terms of type 2 diabetes, this is our most common diabetes both in Australia and worldwide. And in Australia, around 89% of people who are diagnosed are living with type 2 diabetes. So it's our most common diabetes. It does have components of lifestyle in there, which may be contributing factors to developing diabetes, but certainly it's not the main reason either.
Yeah.
Some people have a genetic component, as in it runs. There's a family history of it.
Yep.
Aging itself is a risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Just getting older and the physiological changes that happen in our body.
Hey, Mud.
And yeah, I mean.
Sorry.
So,
One of our kids' friends' parents just jogging past us
everyone's
there.
out
Everyone's
today.
here. It's awesome.
So yeah, type 2 diabetes is a condition where the body isn't able to regulate glucose levels effectively.
Yep.
And certainly lifestyle can have a role in that.
Yeah.
However, it's not the only cause.
Okay.
And yeah, look, type 2 diabetes is managed through lifestyle modifications such as your healthy eating, exercising, weight management, if and when that's required.
Yeah.
And often taking medications as well to help stabilise and manage those glucose levels. And not only that, but blood pressure and cholesterol are really important to manage as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So any age group can develop type 2 diabetes.
Yep.
It is most common in our older cohort of people,
Sure.
as in the most people in Australia living with type 2 diabetes are aged over 60.
Okay. Yep.
However, we're seeing 15 to 20-year-olds being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes nowadays. So
has that?
it's not only adults that get type 2 diabetes or develop it, we're seeing younger people develop it too.
Are we seeing more younger people developing it now, say more than 10, 15, 20 years ago?
I'd say so, yes.
Yeah.
And that's due to a lot of compounding factors in society itself, but certainly our lifestyles are having us harder to do that these days than maybe even 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
What we're eating, how much we're exercising, we're sedentary, sitting down, having jobs where we're sitting down a lot. Lifestyles have changed even in 10 years, so I'm sure that would be having an effect on
that's what older people
the amount of people developing diabetes, whether it's younger people or even older, or any age really. So
like I said, it doesn't help that we're, at least in Australia, we're an aiging demographic, so that has to be a huge part to it. And then, like I said, with the emergence of jobs that are around, and the lessening of physical jobs or movement jobs, I guess.
Yes.
I guess that's probably the point of view I've come from by at least by our club starting this little program. But like I said, that's why I want to get someone along who knows that a little bit more. So yeah.
Well, that's it. So movement's certainly a part of it, but it's our food chain as well, the type of things we're eating, other health conditions as well, high blood pressure, cholesterol, etc. Also contribute, and we're seeing obesity, and the rates of that, I suppose, is another risk factor.
In Australia,
being overweight or obese can also be a risk factor for diabetes. So I guess if people are living with these different things all together, it may increase their risk of diabetes. But there's many factors.
Absolutely.
It's not just one or two things, it's often
a combination,
a cluster of factors that brings someone to developing type 2 diabetes.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to reiterate for those who, if they're new to following me today or this morning or you might watch this video later on today, the whole point of this program that the City of Adelaide have put together is just diabetes awareness and its wellness awareness. And so all we're doing is making sure that we're at least getting our exercise in on a Sunday morning. And if there are anyone out there who's living with diabetes, or you just want to prevent as much as possible your chance of getting diabetes, then this is purely a program just as an opportunity, as an option for getting some exercise in. We use this as a bit of an alliance promo as well. And so we're just using this as an opportunity to try and learn a bit more about what it's all about. And if anyone's got any questions, you're more than welcome to ask. Coda, how are you, buddy? And so for some of the stuff that you're sort of saying there, is really only basic premises why we've put this together. So it's much appreciated.
You're welcome. It's diabetes is one of the top 10 most common conditions in the world. So certainly warrants awareness at least understanding what it is, and for someone it's understanding what they can do to keep healthy generally, whether you have diabetes or not. Have a healthy lifestyle for as long as you can, as best as you can, and that can reduce your risk.
And that's the one thing I noticed when I've done a little bit of reading in readiness to some of these walks and some of the information I've at least presented as well, is a lot of the health side of it, physical health, is just normal, well not normal, but just healthy well-being eating and lifestyle anyway. It's nothing extraordinary that someone with diabetes needs to do either.
No, not really. I mean, it's those common sense health messages that we've heard, all throughout our lives.
Yeah.
And so whether someone's living with diabetes or not, as I've said, we're doing, we as health professionals and just as a community and society do encourage healthy lifestyles.
Yep.
Which incorporate healthy eating, exercising.
And it's just that consistency about it, so really,
Well,
and rather than going through spurts or phases or fads.
It's how can we implement and maintain? That's the other thing, is maintaining things.
Yeah.
Both, in the medium and long run.
Yeah.
Really.
Yep.
How can we make lifelong healthy choices every day?
Yeah.
To remain healthy.
Absolutely.
And active. So
I've got a question from happens to be my wife actually.
Sure.
So who's following? She's actually she's got is type 1 or 2 diabetes genetic?
they both can have a genetic component to it. So in type 1 diabetes, there is a link with genetics, as in if a parent has had type 1, particularly the male, I believe, it can potentially pass on to the children.
Oh, really?
And same with type 2 diabetes, there's a genetic link there. So as in, say parents have diabetes or other siblings, there is a chance that the sibling, the child may develop it. And it's not to say it will happen, but certainly, we come across people, especially that I've spoken to as well, who are, fit and healthy. They're doing, all the manageable things to keep healthy. However, they've still gone on to develop diabetes, and it's one of those big factors is because their parents may have been living with them.
That's my crazy daughter, by the way, there, guys. In case you're wondering who that
really
person was, she's loving it.
See, and that's the thing. Start them early, start them young.
Absolutely.
Enjoying activity and healthy lifestyle patterns, and that can continue through life. So.
That's the best case scenario.
Yeah. And just to clarify with the types of diabetes, you asked the difference between type 1 and type 2. Yeah. There's often this misconception that people with type 2 diabetes who go onto insulin turn into type 1 diabetes.
Oh, really?
That's what people think. Or their diagnosis change. Some people do. Okay. So that's not the case. No. As in, a person's diagnosis doesn't change. We diagnose diabetes on what caused it, rather than how we treat it. Oh, okay. So yes, diabetes type 2 can be treated with insulin. But certainly people who go on to using insulin do not turn into a type 1. So their diagnosis will not change. Just the treatments change. Just to clarify that.
Absolutely. I would never have thought that people that it would be thought of that way, but absolutely.
Sometimes it is.
Right. So the insulin that people with diabetes have to inject, is that the same across no matter what your diagnosis is, or is there different types of insulin?
There are different types of insulin. Many are different types. But basically, the role of insulin, insulin's a hormone which stores energy in our body. So it's actually a fat storage hormone. It helps store energy and utilise it where our body needs it. Particularly in our muscles. Our muscles, like we're walking now, would be soaking up some of the glucose from our bloodstream and putting into our muscles so we can be active and move. And, get about. So what's not used is the glucose that we haven't used up, just diverting here for a sec, gets stored as fat after that. As in, if we're not using it, it does get stored as fat. So insulin helps store energy in our body for utilisation. So yes, there are different types, and that's because insulin's released at different times of the day, depending on what we're doing and also if we've eaten or not. So we get we've always got a circulating amount of glucose in our blood, day and night. It's always going around in our bloodstream. So we have particular types of insulin that mimic that.
Ah.
So that's usually your once a day insulin.
Yep.
That last around 24 hours.
Okay.
And they mimic what our body naturally does in
Sure.
that state.
Yeah.
So with insulin, we're basically trying to mimic what the body does anyway.
Sure.
And then when we eat food, for example, so I've had breakfast this morning, my body will give a quick shoot of insulin as well. My
Yep.
pancreas will release
Watch out, guys.
insulin
Eyes up.
to marry up with the food that I've eaten,
Yeah.
to help metabolize that and utilize that glucose from the toast that I've had, for example.
Yep.
And there's also insulins that mimic that process.
Okay.
And there are rapid acting or quick acting insulins.
Ah.
So in a nutshell, we're mimicking with insulin
Yep.
the same pattern of insulin release that our body naturally
Yeah,
does
right.
anyway. So that's why there's different types.
Aha. Which makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I forgot the fact that yeah, our insulin changes, I guess, as to what it is that we're doing during the day, whether it's after eating or up before or whatever else. Yeah.
And if you eat too much sugar, you can tell when you go to the toilet.
Can you?
Yeah.
How?
If
What do you mean?
eat too much sugar,
Yeah.
the body can't digest it.
Kate here, being an educator too.
No, it's only because I work in a nursing home.
Yeah. So what do you mean? What do you mean? Give us more
Changes
detail.
colour and
Yeah.
froth a little bit.
Right. There you go. Didn't know that.
Only-
Our colour can certainly change also depending on our hydration status
Yeah.
as well. So the
Drink
more
lots of water.
dehydrated we are, the darker our urine can become.
Yeah.
So that's also a way we can.
You learn how to
Indicate our
look out for
hydration.
people that when their sugar levels are off too.
Yeah, yeah.
Speech changes, especially in older people.
Yeah, high glucose levels can make us make people, lack energy, be a bit drowsy, or
Yeah, I was going
unable
to
to
mention. Yeah.
concentrate as much, things like that. So, yeah, possibly can present itself in older people in that way.
I've got another question here. Can type 2 diabetes be reversed?
This is a really common question we get, and the short answer I'm going to say is no.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe rather than saying reversed, a word we could use
Yeah.
is remission.
Okay.
So certainly there's new evidence coming out, particularly from overseas too. There was a study that came out that did show that people can put their diabetes into remission.
Okay.
Okay, however, it takes a lot of work for that to
Yeah,
happen.
right.
It's not to say it can't happen,
Yeah.
but often what's required is weight loss.
Okay.
Because 60% of people with diabetes type 2 are either overweight or obese,
Okay.
and that doesn't help our insulin work
No.
well.
Yeah.
We become what we call insulin resistant.
Oh.
So, in order for someone to put their diabetes into remission,
Yep.
weight loss is required.
Yep.
They need to not be on any diabetes medications, or
Okay.
potentially come off them for at least 6 months,
Okay.
and have a normal HbA1c, which is a particular.
What's that?
Oh, I can explain that in a minute.
Yeah. Do you want to go down that way, or go that way we went last week?
Oh,
Your
we'll be
choice.
at your beck and command.
Your choice.
That only gets said once.
No, I was going to say I'll take advantage of it when I can.
You can go up that way or down
well,
here. It's probably
yeah,
a
I
bit
was-
quieter down
I was going to say we're probably better off going down either the gravel track or down the stairs here, so whichever is easier
well,
for
we'll go to
people.
gravel track and we'll end up on the
Yeah. Cool.
track. Yeah.
So we've just headed across the Adelaide Uni Bridge. We're making our way down the other side of the Torrens. So
Oh, we've
if
made
you
it
know,
this far already. That was
already, yeah,
quick.
it's already a K and a half.
Wow. Yeah, that's
So
it.
if you guys want to go that way, whichever's easier.
Oh, it doesn't matter. We want to look like we're a big group.
Anyway, sorry, we got interrupted again.
No, that's okay.
I presume you're talking about.
No, I stopped it all just when we were talking about, so it's all good.
So,
Sorry,
yeah,
Kim.
coming back to your question about
Being reversed. So you
being
mentioned,
reversed, so I'd rather say the word remission.
yeah,
It is possible. It does take a lot of work, lifestyle factors, and
Yeah.
dedication, I suppose. Certainly not impossible, but what's required is weight loss
Yeah.
to some extent, whether it's substantial or just even a few kilos. It depends on what the person may need to to work on.
Yeah.
Being off medications for at least 6 months,
Okay.
and having a normal HbA1c for at least 6 months as well.
Yeah.
So I suppose if someone can work towards that and sustain it,
We're just avoiding a few mud puddles here on the path. Yep.
can sustain that through lifestyle modifications for at least 6 months, we could say that they've gone into remission.
Okay. Yep.
Now, remission really means a lack of symptoms or signs.
Sure.
So, for that period of time, or for however long they can sustain that, and hopefully they can in the long run,
Yeah.
then we'd say they're absent of their signs and symptoms of diabetes.
Yep.
However, if something was to change,
Yeah.
say, they weren't able to exercise as much, or let's say the weight came back on, or
Yeah.
their blood pressure or cholesterol was also elevated, which can contribute to diabetes as well.
Yep.
For example, like if things changed
Yeah.
and things went back to how they were, then and those glucose levels elevated again, and the HbA1c increased again, which I can explain in a minute what that is, then, and those signs and symptoms came back, or
Yeah.
they went back into the diabetes diagnostic range again,
Yep.
then we'd say their diabetes has
Sure.
returned.
Yeah. Yeah.
But look, there is hope,
Okay.
especially people who are newly diagnosed,
Yeah.
whose glucose levels may just be above normal,
Okay.
or when I say normal, just above the diagnostic level.
Yep.
There's certainly an opportunity there for them to work on that, which we'd suggest anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they may bring it into remission.
Okay.
But yeah, I prefer to say remission,
Sure.
because there's a chance if circumstances change, it could come
Just
back.
sort of relaxes anyway, couldn't it? Yeah.
But if people can work on their health in the long run and
Yeah.
keep the the glucose markers back in the normal range where
Yep.
the body prefers to be, then
Mm.
good luck to them.
I know why the person, again, that asked that question. I know why she's asked that, because of a family member. But there's another question here. What advice do you have for older diabetics who have mobility issues and struggle to exercise? And I know why she's asking that. We've got a
Yeah, look,
relative in that scenario.
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Older people can have mobility issues and not be able to maybe be as active as they used to be due to
Yeah.
other health reasons, or whatever the reason is. I suppose in that case it's doing what activity you could do,
Yeah.
if any, as in any movement's better than none.
Yep.
Even whether that's just plodding around your lounge room, or
Yeah.
doing a few laps in between the TV break
To
or
and from the
something.
letterbox or something.
Yeah, letterbox,
Yeah.
or if you can manage just going short distances regularly over the day,
Yeah.
that all adds up and helps.
Yeah.
Other things might be looking at nutrition as well, as in certainly if people are unable to move as much, it
Yeah.
might be looking at balancing that with our nutrition and trying to eat healthily, so
Yeah.
we're not sort of contributing to weight gain through the foods we may be
Sure.
eating. But at the same time, in our older cohort of people, we certainly don't want to restrict nutrition either,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sort of suggest they can't have certain foods, which is certainly not the case. People
And
with
that-
diabetes can enjoy the array of foods that everyone else
Yeah.
does. It just may be in different amounts and different
Sure.
portions and
I
things.
was going to say, because that's going to have an effect at some point on your mental state as well, if you're constantly monitoring, does it? Or again, if you're constantly, say, restricting yourself from, those nice yummy foods that are a treat or whatever else, can that affect?
Oh,
Is there-
certainly, and that's
yeah.
that's not the goal, and that's sort of, it's not sustainable in the long run to
Yeah.
restrict food groups or certain items of food
Yeah.
that you may enjoy. It's managing diabetes is also about quality of life too.
Yeah.
We want people to enjoy quality of life as well as balancing that out with
Yeah.
healthy lifestyle and nutrition and exercise and movement, etc. So
Yep.
yeah, look, some people, it can get exhausting thinking about food and nutrition all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and people feel like they need to cut out certain foods
Yeah.
and things, but that's not true. It's just
Okay.
looking at frequency we may have something, the amount we have, and looking at portion sizes, and the type of foods we eat. It may just be making a healthy swap from one thing to another. So, and certainly reducing foods, as we'd all know, with high saturated fats, high salt.
It's not necessarily a nutrition plan that's different to regular people that don't have diabetes to a point, isn't it? So.
Certainly. Just some tweaks and changes there, and that's where I'd suggest a person living with diabetes visits a dietitian.
Yeah.
And they can drum up a healthy eating plan with them, or discuss what they're currently eating and where some modifications could be made.
Yeah.
So, but certainly for older people who aren't able to be active, it may be even visiting someone called an exercise physiologist.
Okay.
Who is a person that specialises in exercise. They've gone to university and done education in that. And they're available all throughout the community. And they could assist an older person to come up with some exercise suggestions or a regime that they could do at home. Even using things they have in their cupboard, such as some cans.
I've talked about that on the video, like using household items.
Or some bottles with handles on it.
Good old milk cartons or whatever.
Get some resistant training in there, which is really great for which is really great for muscle tone as well, which is important for older people.
Absolutely.
Is the other thing, is keeping their muscles strong and healthy to prevent falls, to keep their balance going well, things like that.
Well, that's the other thing that I've at least read about the effect of diabetes that has on some people, their effect on their feet, and obviously looking after their feet. Which clearly obviously has a direct impact on your balance and everything else. Again, we're referring to one of our line members who had to get a toe amputated, and there was a couple of factors to it, but the fact that he had diabetes doesn't help what happened. They ended up resulting in that toe being amputated, so clearly that has an effect on your balance as well.
It can certainly if people have a condition called neuropathy or diabetes neuropathy, where the nerves can be affected over generally decades and years of having diabetes.
Where's your helmet?
It's hurting my head. Oh, it is. It's high on my head.
And if someone's living with neuropathy, where that can affect their feeling and sensation in their feet, it can affect their balance as well, potentially. So I guess add that into the mix. That can increase the risk of someone having a fall potentially if their muscles aren't strong as well, or that's where muscle resistant exercises for any age group, but particularly older people, are really important. And then neuropathy is managed through, once again, maintaining blood glucose levels as best we can for as long as we can through the different treatment regimes, such as the lifestyle modifications plus medication as well, and that can prevent or delay neuropathy from developing in the first place. Hopefully, that's the aim. Prevent or delay complications happening or developing from diabetes.
So that neuropathy, is that associated with certain body parts, or is it specific to anything?
It's specific to the nerve fibres. So basically, our blood feeds our nerves, and it feeds them nutrients, oxygen, etc. So when the blood glucose levels are above target, which is often the case in diabetes, and particularly if they're sitting above where the body prefers to be for periods of time over decades and years that person's had diabetes, that can affect the nerve, the coating of the nerve. And when that coating's affected, it can be destroyed, and that exposes the nerve sort of on the inside of the body type thing, as in it affects that coating and destroys it to a degree, and then that's where people can get that sensation change, tingling, numbness, burning sensation, pain, etc. Which
that's the finish line there.
It's not what we certainly want for people, because it can be quite painful and affect people's quality of life.
Absolutely.
And it's not to say some people have neuropathy and their symptoms are quite mild, so it just depends how it affects people. But And that's certainly not to say everyone out there will develop neuropathy.
No,
at
no,
some form,
that's
but,
right. No.
It is suggested that 60% of people with diabetes type 2 will develop
Okay.
neuropathy at some
Yep.
potentially along the way. So, but not only that, the blood vessels are affected as well. So that's where we can have peripheral vascular disease, etc. So, sort of not only can the nerves be affected,
Yep.
but certainly the blood vessels in the
Okay.
body. That's the area
Yeah,
of the body
right.
that diabetes tends to affect the most.
Oh,
It's
really?
Wherever the blood flows.
Oh, so I never
they-
thought of it from from an actual blood travelling point of view.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wherever the
right.
blood flows can certainly be affected by that elevated glucose
Okay.
level. Not to mention that, blood pressure and cholesterol
Yeah.
too. And often people living with diabetes have issues with blood pressure and
Yeah.
cholesterol, or one or the other.
One or the other, yeah.
So that triangle,
Yeah.
those three things, the
Yeah.
blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood glucose levels,
Yeah.
all sort of can affect each other,
Sure.
and they all need to be maintained and
Okay.
managed.
No problems. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You all right? Good? That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Sweet.
It's a lovely morning.
It is. It's beautiful. Heaps of people out here on walking by the torrents. They're not in the torrents, obviously, but walking along or
Few
exercising
rollers,
along.
That's nice.
The rollers out there, we had quite a few schools training last week, which we walked past, which was really cool as well. Does diabetes is known? Well, I know affecting the feet. Does it affect, say, like your hands as well in the same way?
Neuropathy can affect people's
Yeah.
hands. It's more common in the peripheral part of the body where
Yeah.
the blood travels the furthest, but in
Yeah.
the feet and travelling
Has to be
potentially
these
up the legs.
furthest,
But yeah, certainly people have had neuropathy in their fingers
Okay.
and hands where their tactile sensation senses may have been maybe affected.
Yeah.
They might not be able to feel as much or get tingling or pain in their hands,
Yeah.
but it tends to affect the feet. But
Sure.
it's not to say the hands can't be affected also.
Okay. Yeah. That does make sense. From that's I only ever hear about it from feet. Have you happened to have seen? I'm going to move a little bit away from that for a
Yeah,
moment.
that's it.
Have you happened to have seen a bit of a documentary or a webinar presented by Dr. James Muki?
I haven't actually watched it myself. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. As in, he did present for Diabetes SA recently.
Yeah.
I was unable to watch it live
Okay.
at the time.
Yep.
However, yeah, he certainly has spoken on different topics for,
Yeah.
for Diabetes
Okay.
SA, and he's I believe doing quite a few talks around Australia itself.
Yeah.
So
We were
yeah.
supposed,
Did you
from a Lions point of view, we were supposed to have the national convention here in Adelaide. Excuse me. And so he was going to be our keynote speaker
Right.
for that convention. So obviously with COVID hitting, that was all cancelled, which we were spewing about. But we've ended up promoting online on the Lions Australia website and Facebook pages, and we've done it here on our page as well about a webinar that he did called Blinded by Sugar. So I've mentioned it a couple of times here, and I haven't spoken heaps and heaps of detail, but I've said to people, it just gives you a different perspective if you check out that webinar. So
Well, that's
Yeah.
it. Different presenters out there can offer some different points of view, I
Yeah.
suppose, on things, and I think it's a matter of just putting them into context into our own lives, and
Yeah.
what we may be able to take from that to
Yeah.
help us. But it's also just doing your own research as well on things, and certainly doing some learning for
Yeah.
yourself as well.
yeah,
So yeah, I can't comment on his webinar, to be
No,
honest,
fair enough.
but
That's good.
I do understand his at
Yeah.
the moment, and even at Diabetes SA, he did speak via a webinar for
Okay.
us. So people, if you happen to be a member of Diabetes SA, which
Yep.
once again is the state-based organisation for diabetes, we're at 159 Sir Donald Bradman Drive at Hilton.
Okay.
So we do have a storefront as well. People can pop in.
yep,
But if you are a member of us, you'll be able to access that webinar that
Okay.
Dr. Muki
Yeah.
did.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure where Diabetes SA was, so appreciate that. That's all good.
Yeah, so we're across the road from the Hilton Shopping Centre.
Yep.
We're in between the city and the airport.
Sweet.
So Donald Bradman
Yes,
Drive.
yes, yes.
So if people need any diabetes supplies, for example, we have blood glucose meters.
Yep.
Speaking of neuropathy, we have socks, or to keep your feet nice and warm.
I'll ask a question about that. Oh,
We have hypo treatments, as in if people, particularly who are using insulin, may be at risk of hypos. We have treatments for that available, which is in the form of glucose. And we have travel packs. So if anyone's going travelling, not that people might be right now, but certainly in the future when that resumes, we do get people coming and asking questions about travel.
Okay. Yep.
And you can just drop in, whether you're a member or not, and spend 10 to 15 minutes with a health professional just to have a quick chat.
Okay.
If you have any, a couple of quick questions, we're happy to help you over the counter.
Oh, cool. Yeah, right. That sock thing that you mentioned there, I sort of had this idea. Do compression socks work, or the socks that are recommended? What type of socks are they?
The ones we sell are more for warmth and comfort, as opposed to compression. That would probably be best advised by a dietitian if someone
fair enough.
may need something like that to use. But the socks we sell are
fair enough.
Everyday comfort and
I remember talking to my uncle.
Good quality too.
I just thought about. I was talking to my uncle, who's got it, and he talks about again the feet. And I just wondered if compression, if a compression type fabric helps or not. So yeah, that's all cool. I guess it's worthwhile just to quickly mention, or just at least revisit for those who might be following this later in this video compared to earlier. Having Kimberley from Diabetes SA as an educator, if you've got any other specific questions, Kimberley will always advise to get specific advice from whichever medical professionals that you need to. So Diabetes SA have all those contacts as to who to go to. So while Kimberley knows what she knows from Diabetes SA, they're always going to recommend, please see this specialist, if you've got more specific questions as well, or diagnosis that you might need. So we appreciate all the advice that you're giving and all the info, which is really cool.
Yeah, you're welcome. And once again, it's from one person's perspective, and certainly that's where, as you've just mentioned, we'd suggest people see their own health professionals, of course, such as a doctor, their GP. You can book in and see someone called the Credentialed Diabetes Educator, or CDE, like the role myself, and we do have them available at Diabetes SA for appointments, but also they are in the community as well. So there'll be someone likely around you. People such as dietitians, podiatrists, seeing a dentist at least regularly as well to have your teeth checked. Optometrists, having the eyes checked.
Yes.
So
we've got some cyclists speeding through.
So yes, certainly when someone's living with diabetes, at least every 12 months, I would suggest seeing a health professional, or the ones I've just listed. But obviously the doctor might be a bit more regularly than that. But I'd certainly suggest people catch up with a CDE, a dietitian if required as well, and also a podiatrist and optometrist. At least every 12 months, have a health checkup. So how does
what's the effect from an eyes point of view that requires the optometrist?
Well, once again, as mentioned, the diabetes and those elevations in blood glucose, cholesterol and blood pressure potentially as well, all have a role in affecting the cardiovascular system. So the eyes is just another area where the blood flows, particularly at the back of the eye. So we have very, very small capillaries in the back of our eyes. We've also got, obviously our retina and things like that as well. But the back of the eyes is where it can be affected by diabetes. So those fine blood vessels can be, changed or affected by those elevations in blood glucose. So, and blood pressure and cholesterol if that's going on as well for a person. So that's why we suggest at diagnosis, if someone's newly diagnosed, particularly with type 2 diabetes, even type 1, they have an optometry appointment to have the back of their eyes checked, and often they'll take a photo of the back of the eye as a reference point. This is what's happened now. Then let's review it in a year's time and see if anything has changed. Because the eyes, sometimes there's no symptoms that there's things going on with
Okay.
the eyes.
Yeah.
Or suddenly someone might start having blurry vision or be seeing spots in their eyes or have some other symptoms that
Yeah.
are a bit unusual for their vision.
Yeah.
So that's why we like to have the eyes checked on a regular basis.
Absolutely. Got another question here, if I can read, if I don't trip over for starters. What causes gestational diabetes, and can that lead to type 2 diabetes later in life?
Yeah, certainly. So what causes gestational diabetes? Well, once again, some of those lifestyle factors we talked about before,
Yep.
as in if women, and it's not always the case as well, we can have quite healthy women who are going on to get pregnant that might have a family history of diabetes.
Yeah.
But certainly for some other women these days, we may be, once again, carrying a bit more weight, or because weight, once again, affects how insulin works.
Yep.
So that's where weight management comes in, because we find if people lose some weight, their insulin works better and their glucose levels tend to come down.
Yep.
So for example, it depends on a woman's health prior to pregnancy as well, and whether they're insulin resistant before they conceive, for example.
Yep.
And I suppose if they potentially are, and once again, maybe they've got cholesterol, blood pressure issues as well before falling pregnant. Some of these changes in the way that the body can work
Yep.
can lead someone on to develop gestational. So, and then once a woman is pregnant, the body's under extra strain and stress and releasing hormones, etc.
All sorts of hormones, I've heard.
Yeah, for the growth of the child, which then the body's also got to deal with. So it just puts extra strain on the body to have to work and metabolize glucose and do all sorts of things. So yeah, that's where a woman can then go on to develop gestational diabetes. That's why we suggest, pre-pregnancy planning, for example, and you know, whether you have diabetes or not, getting as healthy as you can before you decide to fall pregnant. Now, of course, that's not always possible.
No.
Sometimes things may happen unplanned, or quicker than you thought, or whatnot. But certainly, we suggest women, whether they have diabetes or not, get as fit and healthy as you can before conceiving, because that will reduce your risk of developing gestational diabetes, which also has other factors such as age as well. Women from different ethnicities, and cultural backgrounds have a high risk, both of gestational and diabetes generally. Being from certain cultural backgrounds, just because genetics and and different genetic makeup, etc. So my point is, getting fit as healthy before pregnancy can help. And yes, if a woman has had gestational diabetes, there is a 50% chance that they'll go on to develop type 2 within 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
So once again, it's not to say a woman will,
No.
but what a woman may need to consider is once they've had the child, after living or having been diagnosed with gestational, often there's this sort of, sometimes they just, not just they, but health professionals think, oh, it's gone away now, because it will tend to go away after the baby's born, and the glucose levels will return to normal, etc. But sometimes there's a bit of a false hope that that's how it's going to stay. Whereas I think in my perspective, what women may need to consider going forward is keeping healthy, exercising, weight management, although that's always easier said than done, of course.
Far easier said than done.
So much easier said than done. But certainly women just need to try and keep as healthy as they can going forward. After the baby's born, and hey, that's probably a handful too, of course, raising children and trying to keep fit and manage a household, and that's where the challenges lie in lifestyle, with maintaining healthy habits as well. But certainly women can either prevent type 2 developing, or at least delay the onset. I guess if they can focus on their health after the baby's born for the next 2, 5, 10, 20 years, rather than just maybe letting things go, taking focus off your health, and
Yeah.
you know, we've got to keep ourselves healthy as best we can.
Absolutely.
And that can prevent, or at least delay the onset.
yeah.
So hey, they may go on to develop it anyway because maybe they've got family history as well.
Yeah, if you're like predisposed or whatever else.
And there's age in there, and maybe they have issues with their blood pressure or cholesterol, which the doctor should be managing as well. But sometimes they can be deranged. So many things, but at least they're trying to.
Yeah.
Or at least they can try to prevent it or delay it. So it may still develop, it might just develop 5 years later than it would have had they not been doing something different about it.
Sure.
So
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you for those questions. I know they've been by Patricia there, but thank you for those questions, and it's given Kimberley those different points of view, which is to talk about. We've been really appreciated. We're coming up to the end of our walk. We're walking along the weir, along the Torrens here. So I'm assuming we've been walking for about half an hour. We have not gone at a cracking pace. We've gone at just a nice steady pace the whole time. We've got a couple of people walking in front of us. I had a group walking behind us and I seem to have lost them, but that's fine. Vassy, how are you, my dear? Hammers, that was a good Carlton win last night. I'm sure how excited you were. So thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you so much for walking with me this morning.
You're welcome.
And answering a plethora of questions. I'm thinking, God, I bet you can't wait to get in the car and say, geez, I'm glad that one's over with, but that's all right.
Not at all. I just hope today it's maybe for a different perspective, or someone may have learnt a point or two different they may not have before. But
I really hope so.
Just for people to know that, you know, living with diabetes, it's well manageable.
Yep.
It does take work and effort and change.
Yeah.
But people can live long, healthy lives, whether it's with type 1, type 2 or gestational, with the support and help of both you know, health professionals, family, friends, but also themselves, and self-educating on the topic, understanding what it is they're living with, and getting support if required to help facilitate positive change.
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you for all that. That was the message I guess that we're trying to get across just by doing this sort of program. So again, I'll reiterate, if people want to join us for these walks just for the exercise and that social side of things, anyone is more than welcome, whether you're a Lion in the City of Adelaide Lions Club or a Lions Club across Adelaide. If you're a friend or a family of mine on Facebook, you're more than welcome to come and join us. Rajiv, thank you, buddy. Anyone is more than welcome to come along. Kimberley is always, I'm going to make an assumption here, Kimberley and Diabetes SA are always available to obviously have questions asked. So if you do have any other questions, you can throw them through me. You can PM me on Facebook. Obviously go to Diabetes SA website. Contact Diabetes whenever you need to. We'll continue these walks and our awareness about diabetes for each Sunday as we have been. So I really, really appreciate you coming along this morning, and you're obviously more than welcome anytime as well to come along.
Thank you for the great work the Lions Club are doing in raising awareness for diabetes. It's very much appreciated. And as you've mentioned, if anyone does have any questions going forward about anything related to diabetes, please feel free, as you mentioned, to go on our website. And there you'll also find a telephone number you can call. And you can speak to a CDE or a dietitian even for a few minutes if you have a question related to that.
Cool.
And if not, if there's another way we can help you, we're more than happy to assist.
Beautiful.
So,
awesome.
There to support you always.
Well,
Diabetes SA.
Thank you for Diabetes SA doing what they do. So obviously it's a huge job as well. So given some of the stats I've seen of who's got how many people in Australia have got diabetes, and then there's that other concern of those who may not even realise they've got it, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So, and I know we could talk on forever, I think, at the rate we're going. But Kingy, how are you, buddy? Thank you so much for coming along.
You're welcome.
If you've got any questions, guys, throw them my way. Give Diabetes SA a call. Come along on these walks. Have a chat with us. I hope you've enjoyed what Kimberley's been able to explain and impart on for us today. Thank you for joining me this morning. Have a great Sunday. Have a great, enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever it is that you're doing. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you here, Torrens Park Racecourse or Torrens Park Walk next Sunday, 9 o'clock. Come along and join us. If not, continue following me. Please like the links. please follow what the City of Adelaide Lions Club is doing as a whole. There's some great stuff. Lions Clubs do great stuff overall, so please follow. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
And
have a great Sunday, everyone.
have a great Sunday. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye.